Wow, wow, wow. His name is Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu. Wow. I'm in absolute awe of the game that I just witnessed there. 67-30 in favor of the Springboks today versus Los Pumas, Argentina at Kings Park in Durban. What a game. What an absolute cracker of a game. I mean, you had the first half, which we kind of allowed Argentina to play a bit of rugby, to get a bit of dominance. But what I loved seeing today was seeing that even when we made mistakes, we were able to answer pretty quickly. Thinking about that penalty try in the first half before half time, us then coming back and then scoring a beautiful try today. A beautiful try right off that before leading into the break. This was a phenomenal game. A great fan for the casual rugby fan. The Springboks today showed a level of clinicalness, if that's even a word, a level of clinicalness that I think we have been missing for a while. With 11 entries into the opposition 22, we were able to average a 5.4 points tally in each entrance. Now, that is absolutely great considering that we have struggled in conversions as the Springboks. But today was completely different. I mean, I'm going to speak about him a lot today. Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu today was absolutely immense. It was one of the most dominant performances by a fly half that I have ever seen. This was quite literally one of the best performances of a fly half that we have seen this year from any nation. I mean, yes, Sasha scored a hat-trick. Yes, Sasha now has the most points in a single game by a South African, surpassing the great Percy Montgomery. But it wasn't just that. It was his vision, his decision-making. Most of the time, we see Sasha sometimes try things where he's forcing a move, where he's forcing a kick. But today, he was very calculated, very deliberate about what he was doing. And we saw that from his entire decision-making process. I mean, his try when he saw the space in behind and went for the 50-22, a great kick actually, and being able to have the mind and the work rate and the effort to get back and chase after your own ball, that's character. That is grit, that is rugby IQ, and it's character. Absolutely phenomenal work rate from him. And also, not just his scoring, his try scoring prowess today was great. We saw the way he was setting up tries, setting up moves. That cross kick to Cheslin Kolbe was sweet as a nut. Sweet as a nut. The last cross kick I can remember that was that sweet was probably going back to 2023 when Manny Libbok in the game against Scotland put one on the boot right to Curtly Arnser. Both of those sweet as a nut. Obviously, he missed one kick, but we'll allow him because everything else in his game was flawless today. The back line, besides Sasha, relatively quiet. Ethan Hooker, I would have loved to see him get 1 or 2 tries today, being in front of his home crowd. But, pressure, also, the flow of the game wasn't really going to him either. Cheslin Kolbe, really, really good try. Took his try well. But on Cheslin Kolbe, I mean, I've in my years of playing rugby and watching rugby, I've never seen that mistake ever being made. Not Curtly Arnser, sorry. Cheslin Kolbe, with the experience he has, to not have the mindedness to know that the ball is still alive and he kicks it, he drop kicks it, and then it lands into the Argentinian player's hand. It was funny but very frustrating. But nonetheless, he redeemed himself with a stupendous try. The forwards today did well, really, really well. We had a 100% success rate at the line-out time, as well as we had them under immense pressure in the scrum. I can only count us losing one of the scrums that we had today, which was kind of a 50-50 on the tight head side with Wilco low. Now, I will say those is a very dominant performance. There are some things that I would like to see us change a bit. I've been saying this for a while, but discipline. That yellow card is very, very much so avoidable from Malcolm Marx. Some of the turnovers that we're giving away, even though we're responding quickly from the turnovers, a lot of the turnovers are very much so avoidable. And I think this is just us having patience and being present in mind when we are at either ruck time, scrum time, line, or the line outs, or just even ball in hand with handling. But I mean, otherwise, folks, this was one of the better games we've seen from the Boks in the last 2 years. I think we are starting to see the starting lineup, the true starting 15, and the true bench. I think we've been experimenting quite a bit from the Barbarians game, to be honest, in terms of trying to find out what is working for us and what doesn't work for us. We went through a process, kind of like a teething process, where in the game against the Barbarians, we kind of played a very pragmatic game. Even though we beat the Barbarians by quite a bit, we played a very pragmatic game, a game that we're used to very forward dominant heavy, very carry heavy. Then moving on to the Italy games, we start to see a little bit more of the expansive open play rugby, the Tony ball, if you will. And it works. It works most of the time. Well, it worked most of the time. But that did leave us exposed a little bit defensively, where we're committing so many bodies into expansive open play rugby that we look vulnerable on defense, or we're tired on defense. So in those Italy games, I don't think we were conditioned for this. And then moving on to the start of the Rugby Championship, we see the first game against Australia where it is Tony Ball Express, Tony Ball Extreme, where that first 20 minutes of the game, we looked like a sevens team, basically, how quick we were playing, how fast we were to the breakdowns. And then towards the second half, how horrible we were, just because I think a level of fatigue and also not being able to stop the momentum from Australia. And that goes down to the fact that we were not conditioned at that point in time to purely rely on the Tony ball. Then you have the Australia game after that, where we kind of go back to the pragmatism, our pragmatic way of playing rugby, our DNA, if you will, where you have Sorry about that, guys. My phone alarm just went off while I was recording, so I needed to step away. But that Australia game, that second game where Andre Pollard, we see him go into that bag he has from the 2019 World Cup, 2023 World Cup when we needed him. And then we have the New Zealand game at Eden Park, which is where we saw the one of the very first times the combination of Tony ball and South African DNA. Where, in my opinion, I believe we left about 17 points on the field at Eden Park. Points where I feel like we lost them due to being scared or not knowing how to deal with the pressure. And then we have the game in Wellington, where we give New Zealand their biggest beating in history against South Africa, where Tony Ball and the South African DNA, we see this perfect synergy where what as fans we've been wanting to see for the last tests, right? But I think we were almost getting impatient with the fact that, why is this not working? We need it to work now. And then in that test, we finally saw it, kind of a culmination of teething and kind of a big waiting process of what we have been all waiting for. Tony Ball and SA DNA coming together and producing one of the most dominant performances I've seen from a South African Springbok squad under the Rassie Erasmus era. And then now you have this game against Argentina, where we're just seeing that synergy come into play more and more often, where we're not forcing things. We're not just doing things for the sake of doing it, going behind the back and just loop passes just because we can. We're seeing the forward crash balls. We're seeing the scrums. We're seeing us taking points when they're in front of us. But then we're also seeing us being brave with ball in hand, being expansive with ball in hand. If we continue on like this and we're able to maintain our depth within the Springbok squad, I'm telling you now, the Springboks win the Rugby World Cup. If we can continue to implement this Tony Ball with South African DNA of physicality, I'm telling you for free, we're going 3 for 3. Ooh, that rhymed. That rhymed. I'm telling you for free, we're going 3 for 3 at the World Cup. If that happens, if we're able to maintain this, 3 for 3. Now, with the standings of the log of the Rugby Championship right now, after this emphatic win, the log stands as follows. We have South Africa with 15 points, with a nice bonus point going to us this week. We have New Zealand on 14 points, Australia on 11, and Argentina on 9. Now, going into this last week of the Rugby Championship, wow, has it been a Rugby Championship to remember. I mean, last week, all of the teams sitting on 2 wins each and 2 losses each. This has been a beautiful Rugby Championship. A lot of questions need to be asked about New Zealand, about Australia. Can they maintain this forward momentum that they've picked up from the Rugby Championship? Argentina was last year just a mere fluke with beating some of the top teams in the world. I don't know. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think was the main catalyst of the Springboks winning today? Who was your man of the match? And do you think that the Springboks will be able to win the Rugby Championship back to back? If you love rugby content, if you love sports content, if you're a true sports and rugby fan, follow my page, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Ritang Does Sports. Peace.